I have a quick card to share with you. It is a card that I saw from another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Her name is Dorene Deciboo. I don't know how to say the last name, but I will link her original YouTube video down below. She gives the measurements. I have adapted the measurements just a little bit for today's card featuring Secret Garden. But here is a look at what her measurements will do. So it is this fun card. She is calling it a Accordion Double Gate Fun Fold card. And so this one I made using country lace and then some of the ephemera. Isn't that just so cute? So the measurements that she gives, really the only difference is, see all these little white borders around all the DSP pieces? That her measurements will give you that. I'm not going to do the white because my card base is white instead of this dark gray. And then the back is where you would write your message, and then it is also decorated. So I wanted to show you how to make this right quick. Of course, I have already pre-cut the pieces. Again, I'm using Secret Garden. I have pre-cut some of the thin cuts from Secret Garden. Very dainty. Absolutely love these. I've also pulled out the Secret Garden stamp set. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it yet, but probably maybe for the sentiment. And then I also have the Secret Garden dots. Now, the Secret Garden paper that I've used a combination of the pattern paper and what they call the cardstock. So you can see here that we've got those three colors. And this is kind of how I have it laid out. I originally was going to use the polka dot pieces of the peach, but I think I'm going to do it like that. And then, of course, I have these. That's the periwinkle, and then on the back. But I think I'm going to use the periwinkle. I'm a purple person. So, again, I've pre-cut those pieces. I've even pre-cut the base, but I wanted to do the scoring with you. I am using the paper trimmer that Close to My Heart came out with right before closure. I absolutely love it. I did not think I needed another paper trimmer because I have a scoreboard. But let me tell you, this is really similar to the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, and I love the built-in score blade. So if you are looking for a brand new trimmer, please, by all means, try the Stampin' Up! One out. So this is the 5.5 by 9.5 cardstock base. And we are going to score both ends at 1/2 inch and 2 3/8, or 2 5/8. So 1/2, and then of course I just prefer to score on this. I'm flipping it over to do the 2 5/8. So that's on one end, and then we need to do the other end as well. So 1/2 inch, 2 5/8. So you have that one. So you have a little bit 1/2 inch, then you have this one, then you have the wide base, and then you have the same scores on the other side. So this piece is your 3 by 10 3/8. No, 10 5/8. I keep saying 3/8. 3 inches by 10 5/8, and we're going to score at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4 on each end. So 2 1/8, 4 1/4, and then flip that around and score at 2 1/8. And 4 1/4. And that is all the scoring that we need. So we're going to work with this one first. So this middle pattern is going to go in the center. So you want the line right to the right of the middle. We're going to do a valley and then a mountain. Again, the center panel to the right, a valley, and then a mountain. So you're kind of left with that view. So the ones on the outside are going to be pretty matchy with the ones that you also have the taller panels cut for, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to flip it, so it's actually going to be like this, but all the other ones, you either only have the two long ones or you have the two small ones. So the outside pieces are the ones that you have both of, if that makes sense. So I am just going to attach this centered on this outside panel, and then come in here with this one and do the same thing. Now again, if you are following her measurements, then she also has created little white borders. But again, the reason I didn't do it on this card is because my base is white. It really pops if you're using a colored cardstock for your base. It really helps that DSP pop. And then these inside panels, I think I'm going to put this one over here. Probably should have planned that out a little better. And then this one right here. And then this one is plain. Now again, if you're using her measurements, you will add a piece of white cardstock right there. So we've got that one done, and then now let's pull out the actual base. So same thing, your panel, the one to the left, is going to be a valley. This little 1/2 inch is going to be a mountain, a valley, and a mountain. I'm just going to fold that flat right now. Now again, this is the center of the card that we're looking at. So I'm going to come in with these pieces and adhere to these panels. Make sure that they are centered all around. Move that up just a hair. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a pattern piece of paper right here to the center panel. And then I'm going to flip this over, and this is going to be the outside of the card. I'm going to do the same thing. So I am using that same floral pattern for this panel. And then I've got these pieces. Now remember, these pieces kind of match that one. The back side is the same. But I've decided to use this kind of argyle diamond pattern instead of the dots again. You do not have to. If you decide to use the same, I'm going to bring in that sample card and show you how it looks. So it looks really good. So see, when it's shut, it's all the same. In this instance, it's going to be different. So we've got that. And then I want to add a little panel that I can stamp and write on, because that pattern paper is just a little bit too busy for me. So I want to go ahead and I want to stamp on this before we start decorating the inside. I'm going to pull out the Friends for Life. There are a couple of images on here that I've been using quite a bit, and we've got the thank you, and I'm using rosemary ink. Now remember that this was a paper collection created by Close to My Heart, but marketed through Stampin' Up. So they're all Close to My Heart colors. So if you don't have Close to My Heart colors, you can use the equivalent. If you do have Close to My Heart colors, perfect. So thank you, and then for being a And then we're going to stamp friend. That's not really straight. That's what happens when I use a block that's not really big. But I was stamping yesterday and I just kept getting the ink everywhere. So I thought I would try using a block that was meant for the image, but we see how that goes too. So this friend is a brand new image, so you can either use the oils of your hands. When I'm working with a solid image, I do like to use my rub and remove eraser. Just seems to get that protective film off it a little bit better. And I'm going to use the same color. You definitely could switch it up and do a different color for this one, just to kind of make friends stand out a little bit more. Thank you for being a friend. Love that. So there is that part. Again, switch it over to the inside. Now on these floral pieces, I'm going to just do some light shading. First and foremost, I am lazy, and so I did not want to color from cardstock or pattern paper. I am using a brush that I used yesterday in a video that just has some linen on it, and I like that look. And so then I'm going to come around and I'm going to do the same thing just to the top of this. And that way, when you layer these on top of each other, there is a subtle difference. And I'm also going to use 3D foam tape. I think this card is already bulky, so I may not do that. I may show you a trick. I've added shading to all of those, and then I'm going to come in just with a pencil to this little leaf right here. Now these aren't watercolor pencils. You definitely could do watercolor pencils if you wanted. Now this is actually the stem to this flower, but I think I'm going to use some of these too. So I'm just going to add some color around here. And then I'm going to come in with my rub and remove eraser. I have to be kind of careful because these are delicate. But you can just take an eraser and you can kind of soften those pencil lines. And so it's almost the same. I mean, see, that one ripped off. But I was going to rip them off anyway, of this one especially. But it just softens up those lines. And then let's start assembling the card base actually. So how this works is this middle panel gets adhered down to this piece. So what we want to do is we want to just kind of place that in the middle. You could pull out your ruler if you want. And I want to make a mark on this 1/2 inch. So I am going to mark right there and mark right there. And then do the same thing on the left side. And then we are going to take our scissors, and I'm going to cut on the inside of this line. And then the inside. And then you're just going to cut up this score line to that cut line. And then it's just going to remove that. Same thing with here on the inside. On the inside. And then cut along score line. If you're using colored cardstock, you really want to be careful. You could do this with your paper trimmer instead of cutting. If you have one that has a score and a trimmer and a blade that you can pick up and drop off, you definitely could do that before. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use some tear tape just to make sure that it is really secure on here. You hate to spend that much time on a card and then the recipient get it and it's falling apart. Now granted, I know that that might help, might happen regardless because of the mail system, but at least you did everything possible. So the next thing we're going to do is, she shows a different way, but I actually preferred to fold these over and add it to the back side. And I'll show you why here in just a second, because I did my sample the way she called to do it. It's not bad. You can still do it, but I'm going to show you once I get this done. So then I'm going to take my bone folder and make sure that those are really burnished. And then I'm just going to remove the panel ones first. We're going to get it adhered down before the little flaps. Now if you had a right side or a right or left pattern, you might want to really make sure that you are putting this the right way. I am going to eyeball it, and I am liking that, so I'm just going to really press down on that. And then on here, you're going to remove the backing. If you are just using regular tape, maybe your ATG gun, it really needs to be strong tape though. You're going to remove that backing, and while that's folded over, you are going to fold this flat. So like, do not bend on the score line, fold it flat. And then same thing over here. You want to make sure that it is folded flat, and then just really burnish that in. I did notice that I cut this a little bit different. There's a little piece hanging off, so I'm just going to trim that off. And so now it comes together like this, and it does fold nicely. The first time it's going to be kind of tight, but it'll fold after that. And let me show you why I folded them over, those flaps. So see, you cannot see those flaps at all from this side. This one, the way she instructed it, you can see. Can you see where that flap is adhered? And so I wanted to eliminate that detail, and by folding those in, the card still works the same. The mechanism is still the same. And so the reason why I went white, this is actually French vanilla, I believe, is just I felt like there was so much color on this card anyway. So I felt by just adding some shading, and then we can come in here with some of these twigs. And then when you open up the card, that is where the magic is going to happen. We're also going to add some dots as well. So I've gone ahead and I've added that second flower, and in true Katie fashion, I've decided to do something after the fact. So I am going to attempt kind of mask some of this off, and I'm going to add some gold splatter to here. Actually, I think I'll leave that one. going to do this with a shimmer brush. If you have any of the Stampin' blends, you could also use those to accomplish this. Let's fold this out a little bit more. I wish that I would just do this the first time around instead of making it harder on myself. But I've got some gold shimmer brush. You could also do clear. I thought about painting clear on there, but I really want to try gold. You can see my black marker spilt all over it. Just going to squeeze some on here. Let me get my bone folder. So there's that side. And let's carefully remove all of these without touching anything. And I'm going to repeat the same process over here. So that is dry, and I've added some dots. You can see I added the periwinkle up above this larger flower, and then when you shut the card, you'll see the smaller one right here. I did go ahead and just add some pin right there in the center of that flower just to make it pop. This card definitely could have been made better with some colored cardstock, but I just felt like it had enough color. And then the periwinkle dots also bring in the periwinkle on the inside. So that is that part, and then of course you still have one of my favorite parts of the card is this back part. This card does stand up on its own, so the recipient can look at it from their desk or their mantle or whatever they wish. I don't think this is a card that is going to be thrown in the trash anytime soon. And then of course want to remind you of this card pattern as well, where you have the white backing. So don't forget to expand the description below and check out Dorene's video. If you're on my team, I will post the measurements to this in our Facebook group. And if you are on my email list, if you're one of my customers, I'll post in the VIP Facebook group as well as send out an email PDF to y'all so y'all can recreate one of these.